So I read a lot of books this summer and I want to talk about them. Hi, my name is Samira. I'm a teenager in New York City and I really like to read. And I thought, what better way to make my first video than talk about all the books I read this summer while I was off from school. Two disclaimers. One, a lot of these books, well, not a lot. Hi, Leo. Some of them are on Kindle, so I don't have a physical copy to show you. And two, I can be me. So let's dive in with my least favorite reads. The first book I have rated 2 stars is The Candy House by Jennifer Egan. Just off the blurb, it says, Bix Baton, a tech demigod on a first-name basis with the world, invents a new technology, Own Your Unconsciousness, which allows you to access every memory you've ever had, and to share your own in exchange for access to the memories of others. Obviously, this sounds really freaking cool, and I was really excited to read it, especially because it's in a multi-character format, so each chapter is following someone different. And I was like, wow, this is literally right up my alley. I can't wait. I've literally thought about this exact technology existing before, so I was really excited, and I was like, this must be it. However, the more you read it, the more you realize that Jennifer Egan doesn't really have a point to everything she's saying. And each short story, or chapter, I guess, I kept thinking, now is going to be the time. Now is going to be where everything comes together. I get what she's doing. I finally understand what she means. And I understand the genius behind the candy house. But that never quite happened. I honestly thought that I was missing something because her previous book, A Visit from the Goon Squad, won a Pulitzer Prize. So I was like, maybe I just don't get it. Maybe I'm just 16 and I'm annoying. But I went on Goodreads and I found a lot of people that agreed with me. So maybe I'm not insane. I wish we could have expanded on the founder's trials and tribulations with the effects of being a tech demigod on a first-name basis with the world. And we get that in the first chapter. He says, I'm afraid I can't do it again. It was the first time Bix had said these words, or any like them, to anyone. In the pause that followed, he recoiled from the confession. That's a really freaking cool thing that could have been explored, but no. We never fucking hear from Bix again. And this made me really sad because that was the only time I was somewhat interested in this book. And every chapter that followed, I was just thinking, when am I gonna get it? And I never did. I gave this 2 stars solely because I just feel wrong giving a book 1 star. 1 star is the basis. You know what I mean? The next book was on my Kindle and I recently got rid of my Kindle Unlimited subscription. I should probably get that back. But it's Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jewell. And this book, I think I just can't handle trauma porn. If you care about spoilers, I'm sorry. But the whole thing with this book was that this woman's daughter gets kidnapped. And you find out that she was kidnapped by the mother's current boyfriend's ex-wife, who he did really dirty, by the way. And basically, she impregnates the girl through a random sperm from the black web, the dark web, the black internet, whatever. And this girl gets pregnant, gives birth to a child, which is now in the care of the mother's boyfriend, by the way. And then the girl dies from starvation. Listen, I can handle a lot of things, but it was just really gross. It was trauma porn. It just felt wrong to read. When you get to that point, it's not like, oh my gosh, I finally found out what happened to her. It's like, oh my gosh, I finally found out what happened to her. You know what I mean? It low-key put a weird feeling in my stomach, and so I just kind of had to give it 2 stars. Not a beach read, if you will. This might make me an incredible source, but I also rated The Metamorphosis 2 stars. This was probably just because I had to read it for school, so I'm a little biased because anything you're forced to read for school automatically makes you a little less willing to hear it out. But honestly, The Metamorphosis was just bleak. It was depressing. I didn't get the lesson of, oh, we should abolish capitalism because Gregor Samsa was so concerned about work instead of the fact that he became a literal fucking cockroach. We should accept people the way they are. We shouldn't alienate them. Because listen, if a giant ass cockroach replaced my brother in his bedroom, I wouldn't be that sympathetic either. I wouldn't be feeding it milk and food and shit. Like, Gregor Samsa's family did not, they had no reason to think that that cockroach was their brother or their son. Franz Kafka was the original sad girl though, so I can't really say much. And obviously he's regarded as like a genius to basically everybody except me. So I guess I can't really talk. I'm realizing I rated a lot more books 2 stars than I thought. Another book on Kindle, The Soulmate Equation by Christina Lauren. I could not stand this book. I still gave it 2 stars because, as I said before, I cannot give a book 1 star. But it was insufferable. The premise was beautiful. It's this DNA startup thing that promises to genetically match you to your greatest match. It's like platinum matches, diamond matches, gold matches, whatever matches. And Jess, the single mother, you know, she has a daughter, she's very no nonsense, gets on with it. She matches 98% with the founder of the DNA startup, River Pena. But if you told me that these two matched 5%, I would still believe you, because these bitches had 0 chemistry whatsoever. One of their first interactions is River Pena calling her completely average. And you're supposed to see this as a haha funny thing later once they actually get together, but it's just not funny or cool to me. What the fuck they can talk about is how hot River is. And I didn't see the chemistry. I didn't see it at all. They have a 3rd act breakup, because of course they do, because there is a chance that their match was actually false and fabricated to make the company look better by one of River's employees. And River literally almost breaks up with Jess over this. Like, at one point in the book, she's like, you know, if we weren't a 98% match, would you still talk to me? And he's like, yeah, of course I would, of course I would. But then there's a chance that it's fabricated, and he literally ghosts her for like a week. And she's obviously mad about this, and he's like, well, I needed time to process. And then there's this really long, winded epilogue where River is like proposing to Jess, and it's just like, they have the chemistry and the personality of 2 cardboard boxes. Like, I was not feeling giddy. I was not smiling because they were getting married. A marriage epilogue is what I want for all my happily ever after romances. But for this, it was like, I was hoping they would break up. I was hoping that the match was a fluke. It really was. And they would just break up and everybody would be happy. This book also really depends on the miscommunication trope, which I personally just cannot stand. And I don't know. It just fell flat for me. I didn't feel like Jess and River were meant to be together at all. Jess probably had more chemistry with her doormat, and yeah, there's a lot better romances on this list. I did not realize that that was my last 2-star read, so we are getting out of the negativity, and now we're into the, oh, that was an okay book. Oh, we're going to start the 3-star category off strong with The Paper Palace by Miranda Cowley Heller. This book is about Elle, and she has to choose. Is it her husband, Peter, who she has 3 kids with and a happy life, and he's literally done nothing wrong to her? Or is it, I don't even remember his name, Jonas, her childhood best friend who she cheated on her husband with? Take a wild guess. This book, as it's put by the book, unfolds over 24 hours and 50 years. And I couldn't give a fuck about like 75% of those years. The problem with Miranda Cowley Heller is that she thinks child sexual abuse is the only character development tool that she can use for these characters, and she describes it in very minute detail, at least like 5 times throughout the book, and I just don't think it was necessary at all. Like, there's a scene where she just randomly mentions that her mother was sexually abused by her stepdad and how she had to him off. Like, it serves nothing for this story. It's just for Cowley Heller to be a little edgy. And listen, throughout the book, I'm trying to understand why Elle would pick Jonas, right? Just besides the fact that she clearly likes Jonas more than Peter. But there's no chemistry. Like, across 50 years, they have seen each other maybe 10 times. But each time it's supposed to be this like emotionally charged, insane, like romantic moment. And it's just not. Like, there's one moment where they run into each other at a coffee shop and he's like, hey, Elle, you still with that guy? Like, of course she's still with that guy. She sees you once a year. So The consensus online is that the ending is ambiguous and you're not really sure who Elle picks, which first of all, I think is extremely stupid because the entire fucking book is about who she picks. But I didn't think it was ambiguous at all. She's about to choose Peter because she goes back to bed with him and she's like, you know what? No, I can't blow up my life for Jonas. But then she asks Peter to come look at the birds outside because they're doing some cool thing that she likes, I don't know. And Peter's like, just let me go to sleep. He's British, by the way. Oh my gosh, don't wake me up at this hour. And that's, in my opinion, when she realizes that he will never understand her like Jonas does. And so she goes outside to the lake, to the pond, and she sees the figure of Jonas at the end of the lake. And she takes her ring off and she swims towards him. And this is right after her mother-in-law says her mother says some ominous shit like, we all must take our swims out. We just might regret them sometimes. And it's just like, yeah, okay, she chose Jonas, obviously. But as a positive, the imagery in this book is beautiful. Like, genuinely, it is so atmospheric. It's so lush and flowery, and like, okay, flowery prose is often said as a bad thing, but in this book I really liked it. Like, let me just find an example. The sun has poured a molten river onto the ocean. A cormorant plunges into liquid gold. Waves swell without cresting. Plovers peck their way around the sandbars in search of sea lice and razor clams. There are still a few late afternoon stragglers. We sit in a hollow at the top of the dunes, hidden behind a screen of poverty grass. I am in love. Like, isn't that so beautiful? Even if nothing freaking happens in this book, at least the imagery, right? So I've discovered that was my only 3-star book. So let's move on. At 4 stars, coming in very strong, we have Invisible Women by Caroline Criado Perez, about how we ignore women in data and science every day and how it really harms them. And I found this book so important. Like, it has so many things that I never even thought about, even as a woman myself. Like, for example, she talks about how the standard keyboard is built for men's hands and not women's, how uniforms are built for men and not women, and how these ill-fitting uniforms really endanger them. She talks about how a greater emphasis on plowing the roads for cars instead of pedestrians also really harms women because men are mostly the ones driving. And it just brings up so many things that I wouldn't even think about in day-to-day life, but do genuinely impact people and do genuinely harm women. The only thing that really took 1 star off for me was really not any fault of the book itself, but just the fact that my eyes would glaze over sometimes because there could often be like just walls of stats. And obviously she can't do much about that because it is a book about stats, but there's just so many numbers on the page sometimes. Like, it's nearly 5 times more dangerous than it was 40 years ago regarding climate change. Between 2000 and 2010, there were 3,496 natural disasters compared to 743 from the 1970s. A 2017 report will cause 152,000 deaths a year. Like, obviously, this is what the book is about, but I just found that my attention would drift away sometime and I would have to reread it. But I genuinely think that this is a book that everybody should read because it really brings up a lot of questions of what we prioritize in society, and I was really feeling enlightened after reading it. My next 4-star book is what I actually did my summer reading on, Beautiful Country by Chen Julie Wang. And this is a memoir about her growing up undocumented up until around 6th grade in New York City. And I think definitely under the current administration, this is such an important read as well, just because it teaches you empathy and it teaches you how people in the shadows can live and what they had to go through. And I just found it really important, just like Invisible Women. But one gripe I had with it was that it really rushes near the end. Like, near the end, we find out that Julie's mother wants to go to Canada. So she takes Julie and they go to Canada without telling their father, her father, because her parents were in a really bad argument at the time. And they go to Canada because this is where they can get papers and this is where they can actually be safe and work legally. And the father follows them soon after, and you find out that she grows up in Canada from there on. Like, they have papers. It's a good place to live. It's like a haven for them. So it's like, why did they deal with America when Canada was right there? We also never see the author go back to America and go to Skidmore, go to Yale, become a lawyer. These are all things that are in the book. It's like, I found out online. And it's like, I feel like that could have been really cool to explore. Like, the entire book is just doom and gloom of the author starving as a child and how she had no money and how she had to survive and how she had to work in sweatshops in Chinatown. But I think mentioning her lawyer career and her rising up the ranks and advocating for the same people she used to be would have been a really great look into how it's not all doom and gloom and how there was light at the end of the tunnel. But obviously it's her choice, like, because a memoir is a fraction of your life, not the whole thing. And I think it's still a really great book, and it was really important for me. My last 2 4 stars are both rom-coms, and I only have one problem with each of them, so I thought I might as well do it together. For the love hypothesis, everybody knows this, everybody loves this. Allie Hazelwood, my STEM romance queen. My only real problem with this book was that it really drags near the end, and it's a bit unbelievable. Like, okay, apparently Adam Carlson has been in love with Olive for like forever, like years. So why did he never approach her? And it just all happened so conveniently, and you have to suspend a lot of disbelief, because the way that this book starts is that Olive, right here, is afraid to tell her friend that she's single or something like that. So she runs up to a random professor and kisses him on the mouth in front of the friend to prove that she's not single or she's not sad or whatever. Like, what? But, you know, it's a really cute book. It's actually supposed to be Star Wars fan fiction, apparently. Like, this is Adam Driver and this is Rey. And they're making it into a movie. So I'm really excited to watch that. With Beach Read, my one problem was that they spend a weird amount of time on the B plot that never really culminates in anything significant. Like, these two meet up because they're both on a writing retreat, because they're both dealing with writer's block. And you have this really weird cult subplot because August, the guy, is writing about cults for his book because he writes really serious stuff. And January, yeah, weird name, but January, the girl, writes romance. So they write like opposite genres. But he's writing about cults. And so they interview like a lot of people for his cult book. And then it just never gets brought up again. It's like, why did I spend so much time on this? But it was a really cute book. I really liked it. I liked their chemistry. It could have been a bit better, but you know, it was fun. And I really enjoyed reading it. You know, it was a beach read. So now we are on to the big kahunas. We are on to the 5 stars. We are on to the, oh my gosh, I wish I could read this again. We're on to the beauties. We're starting with the rom-com. Happy Place by Emily Henry. Oh my god, it's such a beautiful book. It's a second chance romance. And I think what I like about this book is that it's not solely about the couple. You know what I mean? That's the case for a lot of Emily Henry's books. It's not exclusively romance as it is just contemporary fiction with a big romance element. Like, the couple has secretly broken off their engagement, but they reunite and they have to pretend to be together because they're all hanging out with their friends at their yearly summer house, their happy place. And it's just really cute seeing how Wynn and Harriet, yes, those are their names, Wynn and Harriet are interacting again after being broken up with for like 6 months. But I also just found Harriet so relatable, and she is such like a realistic character, and she is me, bro. Like, I'm Harriet, Harriet is me. And their friends are great characters too. And I just really love the ending. Like, I'm not gonna spoil it, unlike I've spoiled literally everything. But I just think it was a really great book. And it captures a lot of the popular sentiments about life nowadays, like not being fulfilled in your career, not being sure how to interact with your friends after you guys have been apart for so long, but you feel like you should be just as close as you were back then. You know, second chances, how complicated love really can be. Like, it touched on a lot of these good subjects, and I really liked how it was handled. Next we have The Anthropocene Reviewed by John Green. All right, usually this man writes YA, right? You know, The Fault in Our Stars, An Abundance of Catherines, Looking for Alaska. I have many of these books, but The Anthropocene Reviewed is a very sharp pivot from this subject. And it's just John Green writing about whatever the frick he wants, man. Like, he writes about teddy bears, he writes about velociraptors, he writes about Diet Dr. Pepper, but he has such insightful insights. He has such great insights into the world and how we are living every day, and how modernity can sometimes be a curse and a blessing. And at the end of each mini essay, he has some really great thoughts about life, and then he rates what he was talking about out of 5 stars, because he argues that we have made up this arbitrary rating system and we might as well use it. And so, for example, one thing he says is, the challenge and responsibility of personhood, it seems to me, is to recognize personhood in others, to listen to others' pain and take it seriously, even when you yourself cannot feel it. That capacity for listening, I think, really does separate human life from the quasi-life of an enterovirus. I give viral meningitis 1 star. Like, how can you write such a beautiful paragraph about viral meningitis? Maybe I'm just like a sad teenager, I'm 14 and this is deep, like whatever, but I just found this book really beautiful. Next we have a British book. This is Instructions for a Heatwave by Mackie O'Farrell, and I had never heard of this before. I picked it up while I was in London from Daunt Books, and this author is known for her book Hamnet, which I have not read, but this book is really, it's low-key giving normal people if normal people was about a family. You know what I mean? It's a tale as old as time, right? A family member, more specifically their father, goes missing, and the estranged siblings and their mother, they all reunite at their house and they try to figure out where their father went. But this book really isn't about their father disappearing at all. It's about the things that all of these siblings are going through that they don't talk about. It's about the claustrophobia of being with your family and the tangle because they know you so well, but they also don't. And the atmosphere is just so engulfing. Like, I don't know how to explain it to you. Like, I felt like I was in the room when they were arguing, you know what I mean? And it's all set against the 1976 heat wave in London. And you can almost feel the sweat on your back. Like, that sounds really dramatic, but I'm being serious. Admittedly, the twist was not like that crazy. Like, it wasn't the bombshell that you might have hoped it would be, but I didn't really care about that because I just cared so much about these characters. Like, nothing happens in the book and yet everything does, and I just needed to know everything. I needed to know where Ave or Eve, or I'm sorry, however you pronounce Aoife, was doing. I needed to know where Michael Francis was going to take his children. I just needed to know everything, and I just really loved that about the book. If you're in love with books that people complain about where nothing happens and it's really boring, this is for you. And finally, my favorite book of all time, one that I don't even have a physical copy of, but I've read 2 times. Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I'm aware this book is very popular, like I'm not saying anything crazy, but Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow is like, you just don't get it until you read it. The synopsis does not do it justice. Like, it sounds like a romance. It's not. It's really freaking not. Like, oh my god, it takes place over so many years, and these characters are just so real and flawed and annoying, and you want to rip your hair out when they speak. And like, oh my god, I love them so much. Like, I grew such an emotional attachment to all of them, and there's one chapter that a lot of people are like, why did he add that in? But like that chapter was so necessary. And listen, I'm not even gonna spoil this one. Like I know I've spoiled all the rest, but this book, like you need to read it. It is just so beautiful, and there's so much subtlety in the writing. Bro, I look so dramatic, but like there's so much subtlety in the writing, and there's so many good quotes. And I have one of the quotes as my literal freaking wallpaper. Like one of the quotes is, but life is always arriving. There's always another gate to pass through. Like, yes, wow, that, oh my god. Like, I cannot recommend this book enough. Like, listen, people are gonna tell you it's boring. People are gonna tell you that the author is trying too hard, that she's trying to be too smart, but like, I love this so much. Okay, there's really no way in hell that anybody is gonna watch this, but if you stick it out to the end, I really appreciate you. Smash that like button, smash that subscribe buttons, comment, whatever. Yep. Maybe I'll make another. Bye guys.